do. Baby Reed.
What did you hear? I heard them both combined, but I'm going to just go with Yanni. You heard Yanni? I heard Laurel.
I heard Laurel.
What did you hear?
I heard Laurel.
I thought I heard Donut. I'm telling you that.
All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Sandeep here. I got a Jay sitting next to me.
What's up?
It's about an hour and 15 before the tip-off for the Cavs-Celtics games. And, I know there hasn't been a lot happening in basketball since our last pod, except for about 4 games. But we couldn't keep the people waiting, so we're going to bring another pod to you guys today. So, Jay, it's been 4 games so far. 2 games in the East, 2 games in the West. Let's talk about what's going on in the East. You have an interesting update on Brad Stevens' success.
Yeah, so someone on Twitter asked Kevin Pelton, one of the ESPN writers, how many players would he take ahead of Brad Stevens? And he said about 20 players, give or take. Which, you think it's not that high of a number, you think it's not a lot of people, but think about it. We place so much importance on superstars these days, and he's saying that there's only 20 players in the whole league that he would take ahead of, the best coach possibly. And we're not even sure if Brad Stevens is the best coach because there's still Pop out there. There's coaches like Rick Carlisle and Quinn Snyder. But he's saying that Brad Stevens is worth more than everyone besides 20 players. What do you think?
Yeah, I know we hear guys like we hear guys like Jalen Rose bring up the fact that NBA players have more leverage than the coaches, right? No one's ever quick to blame it was the player's fault for losing a playoff series. I mean, the situation in Toronto just illustrates that. Dwayne Casey gets fired before anyone even points fingers at DeMar or Kyle. And for us to even bring up the notion that Brad Stevens just has such a greater level of influence on the organization than their superstar players is just unheard of. And we see it in other organizations like the Spurs, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's going to pick a single Spurs player over Pop, right? And even with the situation that's going on with Kawhi, everybody's kind of on Pop's side. Nobody's really on Kawhi's side, but people are on Pop's side because he has that legacy, right? He has the championships, and Brad Stevens, this is the highest level of success Brad Stevens has had his entire coaching career, and we're talking about this guy as if he's a superstar level player himself. So, 20 players, that's insane, I would say. Probably 50 players, given just how influential a lot of these players are. But,
right.
All props to what Stevens is accomplishing in Boston.
Yeah, it's weird, right? So we always think that all these championship teams that we've seen in recent times, they at least have 2 go-to guys or 2 superstar players. So with the Warriors, we have Steph and KD, and even Clay could maybe consider that. And then when the Cavs won a couple years ago, they had LeBron and Kyrie, which is why we don't really think of this Cavs as a contender now because it's just LeBron. But someone on the internet, they were saying that maybe for the Celtics, it's Al Horford, who we're not even sure if he's one of those guys who can lead you to a championship. And the second guy may be Brad Stevens. That's how much credit he's getting right now. But I think it's just too much too soon, right? Because let's look at this team. Jason Tatum, number 3 overall pick. Jaylen Brown, number 3 overall pick. Marcus Smart, number 6 pick. Terry Rozier, 16th pick, so he's still a mid-first round pick. Mm-hmm. Al Horford was a number 3 overall pick back in his day, and he's a very accomplished and well-established player. Marcus Smart was also a middle first round pick. Marcus Morris. Mm-hmm. So he's got good players. It's just that he's lost his 2 best players in Irving and Hayward, and we're not giving any credit to these guys.
Yeah, and I know the poll said 20 players, and I'm trying to mentally run down, who those 20 players would be. Obviously, KD, AD, Bron, Steph, but I don't think any of the players on the Celtics' current roster is going to make that top 20 list.
No, the healthy ones, none of them will make it. Kyrie healthy, yeah, you would take him over Brad.
True.
But even maybe Gordon Hayward. But right now, none of these guys you would take them over Brad Stevens. I can see that.
Yeah, I feel bad. I think it might have been Stack Jack on Get Up or some show, one of the shows that he's on this week. He actually kind of went in on a little bit and was like, we're not giving enough credit to these players. You just ran down their credentials in terms of being high draft prospects, and a guy like Al Horford who's accomplished so much in this league. Why is no one really considering the actual output on the court?
Yeah, I think it's because, one, they're very young. So Tatum is a rookie, so we always think, oh, rookies, it's good. But you don't expect a rookie like Jason Tatum to be the go-to scorer in the fourth quarter of a conference finals team, which is what he is. And I think the fact that they're youth makes people question whether they're actually good and give them credibility. But these guys have grown up really fast, and they've had to with their injuries that they've had. And I think Stevens is the guy, rather than who makes them great players because they're already great. His biggest strength may be how he instills the belief in these players that, hey, just because we've had injuries, and don't believe the outside noise, people telling you who were saying, oh, it's been a great season for these guys, next year they'll get them. He's saying, no, we can do it this year. And we see this all the time, right? Like we just saw with your Eagles. Like just because they lost their best player.
Go Eagles!
Right? Just because they lost their best player doesn't mean... And the Pats are kind of like the Cavs, right? If you think about it, like they have this one great player in Tom Brady, and like they have the Cavs have LeBron, but the supporting cast and is not that great. And that's what Brad Stevens is trying to tell these guys. Hey, man, we have the better overall team.
The fact that you're equating the Boston Celtics to the Philadelphia Eagles is a bit unsettling for me, considering we just whooped the Patriots' butt winning that Super Bowl. But you know what? I agree with you, and it's the same story. It's the two best players got injured, not involved in the season right now, and the confidence that I'm seeing from Jason Tatum is insane. I can't remember another rookie playing with this level of confidence this far into the playoffs. I mean, there's a stat. I think he's by the end of this series, he's going to be the all-time leader in rookie minutes in the playoffs.
Right.
And he's getting up there in terms of total points scored by a rookie. And I think a lot of this goes back to, I'm sorry to say, a lot of it goes back to Brad Stevens again. One of the rules Brad Stevens instituted in his team is no rookie hazing, right? I mean, as a rookie, you come to the NBA, you're expected to just be at the bottom of the totem pole. You're expected to carry everybody's bags. I remember one of the Nets rookies, I think it might have been Karis LeVert. He had to walk around the entire season with a pink mini girl's backpack the entire season. But you don't see that with the Celtics, right?
Right.
You see Brad Stevens giving guys like Jason Tatum, probably did the same thing with Jaylen Brown, probably did the same thing with Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier. He gives them the confidence, gives them the belief that, hey, I know you're young, but you can lead this team, right? And it's just this willingness and belief for them just to play so much harder than we see a veteran team like the Cavs playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. So you hit the nail on the mark. They played way harder than the Cavs. So the game 2, it started out really good for the Cavaliers. LeBron was on fire.
I thought it was going to be Game 6, 2012.
Yeah, that 45-point game where LeBron was just amazing. But the difference is back then he had a team around him in Miami who were champions, and they all put in the collective effort.
They had the will.
But whereas in the third quarter of that game 2, Terry Rozier is a great. I'm sorry, he's a good player. He's not like a great player. Mm-hmm. But the way he was playing, he looked like Kyrie Irving out there. It's like we're not even missing Kyrie Irving, and the Cavs are just giving up on defense. Where Terry Rozier was open on the wing for a 3, mm-hmm. and 4 Cavaliers and LeBron's a culprit too. I think we give LeBron a pass on defense all the time because we're like he carries such a load on offense. Yeah. But LeBron was one of those guys. He was just staring and didn't close out on the shooter on Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do my boy LeBron dirty like that, but it was across the entire Cavs team, right?
And and you would like your leader, like if he is because LeBron has his chase down blocks, and I think that's his signature defensive play. But he's not like that same defensive player he was on Miami. And the fact that your leader is not putting in that effort, then the surrounding teammates also take a pass.
Yeah, now that you mentioned chase down block, I don't remember the last LeBron chase down block since Game 7
on Iguodala, right?
On Iguodala, right? I don't know if is it age, is it him just being smarter of how he exerts his energy, right? I mean, we all seen the stat by this point. LeBron's one of the slowest players on the court. He walks around a lot, and part of that is because he knows that there's going to be these 12 to 14 moments throughout the game where he has to be the guy, where he has to just put his 120% effort into it, and we see that now. And it's those moments in between, right? Those moments when he doesn't exert himself fully. That's where he starts losing control of the game, and this one sequence really was the most telling to me. I think the Celtics missed a shot. It was a long rebound. Jeff Green grabs the rebound, starts dribbling up court, Marcus Smart comes out of nowhere, picks his pocket,
Yeah.
ball's going out of bounds, he dives for it,
Yep.
pushes it back inside, somebody on the Celtics catches
It was
bucket.
Tatum, yeah.
And that's, I think, in that one sequence, I think tells you exactly how the series has been going right now.
Yeah, the Celtics just wanted more, and they know that they have less margin of error because they don't have their superstar players, and they just play more. So
people always say, you know, the series doesn't start until, you know, the road team wins, right? So
Yep.
Celtics 2-0 at home right now in the series.
And 8-0 for the postseason.
8-0 for the postseason. So now we're heading back to Cleveland. Did Cleveland lose any games at home against the Pacers?
Yes, game 1, they lost to the Pacers.
Okay, so they're what? I guess 7-1 at home.
Yeah.
Right. So 2 great home records. What's going to
Or
happen?
5-1, 5-1. Because Toronto only they got swept, so they only had to play 2
some of
home
those
games.
Toronto games felt like home games to me.
just a quick side note. I know we were talking about Dwayne Casey earlier. I don't know if you saw this. So all the finalists were named for the NBA awards, and Dwayne Casey was named one of the finalists for Coach of the Year, along with Brad Stevens and Quinn Snyder. And the Toronto Raptors tweeted out, "Congrats, coach!" And it was just one of these awkward moments.
God,
it's
soft move, dude.
They just fired him, and then they still put "Congrats, coach" because he was nominated as a finalist. And can you imagine if he actually wins the award? That's going to be crazy.
For the social media intern for the Toronto Raptors, just feel bad about yourself. And I don't know if you're actually going to, get a full-time position just for that tweet. I mean, that's just egregious, man. Come on.
It's like they're just rubbing salt on the wound. The dude got fired, and now you're saying "Congrats, coach."
God. All right, so social media awkwardness aside, let's go back to LeBron. All right, so going back home, all right, down 0-2.
Mm-hmm.
What's the record for teams in the NBA history of being down 0-2 in a series?
I think you had the stat right, but it's not that great.
It's not great at all. It's 17 to 200 and something else. All right, so it's basically unsurmountable.
Right.
All right, but then we look at LeBron, who I think is the GOAT. He is 2-4.
He has 2 of those 17 wins.
So I mean, obviously not a winning percentage, but a lot better than NBA history.
Right.
And then we have the Celtics on the other side, the juggernaut. 37-0 in franchise history, ever being up 2-0 in a series. Something's got to give. What's going to happen?
Yeah, so I think the Cavs will take these games 3 and 4 at their home, because we've seen it with the Celtics. They were up 2-0 against Milwaukee, then they lost games 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. The Sixers, they were up 2-0, and then we saw that game 3. The Sixers basically gave that game away. They should have lost. The Celtics should have lost that game. The Sixers could not execute late game, and that's why they lost game 3. So I think the Celtics are not a great road team in these playoffs yet, and that's part of it is youth. So I think Cavs take games 3 and 4, and game 5 is the ultimate swing game, right? We always see it. Series is tied 2-2. Game 5 winner is the biggest swing game. So
so going back, I just mentioned LeBron had that 2-4 record, down being 0-2.
Yeah.
Game 5, that one of those wins was against the Pistons back in 2007.
Exactly.
And guess which game he had that super crazy game where he won 25 points straight.
Yep, and the Cavs 27 of their last 28 points.
Yep.
It was all LeBron.
Game 5 back on the road and in Detroit.
Yep.
Is that what LeBron's going to have to do in Boston 2 games from now?
Yeah, but it's weird. So that is what he's going to need, absolutely, because I don't trust these Cavs on the road to put in a collective effort. I think it's going to have to be LeBron. But man, game 2, this guy had 42 points, a 42-point triple-double, and that wasn't enough. So I think it's going to take on the road, in addition to a LeBron great effort, it's also going to have to take the Celtics to play a little bit down from their usual game, and that's what it's going to take. But even if they lose game 5, right? Let's say they take game 6, Cavs at their home court. When it comes to that final game 7, I still trust LeBron more than the Cavs because he's been there. And that's why I like the Cavs in 7 in this series still.
So you think it's going to go to Game 7?
I think so. I think they're going to keep it. Home team is going to control their home court. And when it gets to a Game 7, I'm going to take LeBron. I'm not going to bet against him.
I mean, I don't know if it'll get that far, especially given Ty Lue's rotations right now. Disgusting. I mean, when LeBron got hit in the jaw by Tatum and he had to go out.
Yep.
Guess who was on the floor? Not Kevin Love. It was Kyle Korver being the primary scoring option, surrounded by J.R. Smith, Jeff Green, and whoever else knows. Right?
George Hill.
I mean, I don't understand what is Ty Lue thinking. If you have 2 All-Stars on the team, one of them's got to be on the floor, especially when your role players are not delivering, other than Kyle Korver. And Kyle Korver is not a primary scoring option. He's not going to create any offense for you, other than LeBron or Kevin Love passing him for an open shot.
Right. And the problem with Korver is, yeah, he gives you the offense, but then the Celtics just kept attacking him on defense, which is why they were able to stay in the game in the first half. And speaking of your boy JR, too, he's got to show up. The Cavs' backcourt was outscored 41-3.
It's not even just a scoring. The defense is atrocious too.
Yeah, I mean, and then JR, like ultimate, he starts giving up on defense so much, then he dirty shoves like Al Horford, which I don't know how that wasn't upgraded to a flagrant 2, or he wasn't suspended for that play.
I mean, another telling moment in this series is after that flagrant foul, which Cav came to the defense of JR?
No one.
Exactly.
In fact, Tristan Thompson was holding back
Marcus
Smart. He wasn't holding back.
Nobody was standing behind JR. Nobody was standing in front of JR saying, "This is my guy. I want to defend him." Right? Terry Rozier and Marcus Smart came up and rode out for their boy
Al Horford. Yeah.
Al Horford. Right? And
the funniest part was Ty Lue said after the game that the Celtics are the ones gooning up the game, when it's like, dude, your boy JR is the one who had the dirty shove.
I mean, it's just there's just no team effort, and it's just so sad to see the Cavs pretty much just waste an entire prime LeBron year. And obviously, and I know I sound a little defeatist, and we don't know how the series is going to shake out, but
yeah, tonight will be very telling.
Unless Ty Lue figures out how to create a rotation where he has at least Kevin Love and or LeBron James on the floor at all times, then they're not going to win. At least until JR decides to show up and play some defense and hit some shots and not even take the stupid shots. Right? I remember when LeBron went out, JR came back in. Next shot he took was like a contested shot, ended up bricking it. Didn't even hit the rim. I mean, they really got to figure it out. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
And the funniest part is, like, I feel part of it is Ty Lue's fault, but it's just like, man, you guys played so well against the Raptors, and you guys are doing this to me now? Or it just me because the Raptors can't handle the Cavs.
JR shot 70% in Toronto.
Yeah.
And he's shooting, like 2% now?
Yeah.
This is, God.
No consistency on these Cavs. So this series, been going pretty well. On the other side, it's not 2-0 here. It was 1-1. It looked like the Warriors were going to go up 2-0 after that game 1. Mm-hmm. So after game 2, I don't know if you saw this interesting tweet. It's between one of the team moms, Draymond Green's mom, and Kevin Durant. So someone on Twitter was saying, "Oh man, KD's playing so well, and what are the Warriors doing? The rest of the team is not keeping up with KD, because KD's put up 37 points in games 1 and 2, so he showed up for this series."
Yes, he did.
But then Draymond Green's mom on Twitter responded to someone asking, "What you talking about? It's more to a game than shots. It left everyone else standing, as in KD, and standing around never to get into position. Swing the ball, pass the ball, and around the 7-second mark, take the shot. Not at the 21-second mark, because KD was taking some early shot clock shots. ISO, ISO, ISO. They beat us at our own game."
Ooh, a spicy take from Draymond Green's mom. Oh my God. I mean, I saw that was pretty interesting. I was watching the game and I was like, this does not look like the Warriors to me at all. I don't know if part of it is just Steph's, I guess, maybe lack of confidence in his shot. I mean, he's only hit 2 3-pointers the entire game.
In his shot and in his body after the MCL sprain. Now he's back with that.
So I guess they're changing is there signaling that they're changing their offense, that this is KD's offense now? It's not Steph going to be the distributor, passing the ball around the perimeter, looking for the open shot?
Yeah, I think if Steph was completely healthy, the Warriors can run their normal offense with Steph off the ball and him and Clay running off screens. But the fact that Steph isn't fully healthy, they can't have him running as much. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a lot of KD, which is weird, right? This is how the Rockets play. It's become a lot of KD holding the ball at the top of the key, and Steph and Clay just as spot-up shooters, which is not what the Warriors do best. They're so good because of Steph and Clay constantly moving, and then that's what allows KD to then have his room to get his shots off. Yeah,
and even if Steph's not 100% and Clay still plays that spot-up shooter role, I don't think KD bringing the ball up the court or starting off at the perimeter is the way to go. Get the ball to KD in the post, right, and let him work out from there, and wait for the double team to come, and then kick it out. That's the way they're gonna have to go if that's the if Steph's not going to find a shot and if they can't really figure out, how do we continue swinging this ball?
Yeah. So, I mean, after game one, that it worked for the Warriors, right? And then we thought, man, the Warriors, they're just too good. But I was really impressed by how the Rockets responded in game two. So the biggest thing everyone said after game one is that they're running too many isolations. Well, guess what? In game two, they ran even more isolation plays.
Tony doubled down on that.
But there was a difference because, more than Harden, it was Chris Paul. And I was like, wow, this is why they got Chris Paul. Now they have a second ball handler and a Hall of Famer in Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. So it's not all on Harden. And CP3 was really pushing the pace from the beginning on makes, on misses, turnovers, everything. He was pushing the ball, and so now they're still doing their isolations, but they're getting into those isolations earlier in the shot clock. And in addition, people are actually making cuts, like Trevor Ariza, PJ Tucker, the hero of Game 2, made 5 3-pointers, 21 points. People are actually making cuts. So it was the same isolation plays, but it was not. It was different in terms of the ball movement and what point in the shot clock it was happening.
Yeah, one thing I really liked from the Rockets as well in Game 2 was they kind of recognized what they had in front of them, right? Mm-hmm. In front of them are the Warriors. At any given point, they're going to have 2 All-NBA defensive players on the court, right? Sometimes 4 with that mega depth lineup between Draymond, Iggy, Clay, and KD.
The Hamptons 5.
Yeah, the Hamptons 5, KD's really stepped up his D, right? So you're looking at 4 very good defenders on the floor, and then who's the 5th guy? Steph. A guy coming off an MCL spray. And what do I see the Houston Rockets do every single time they bring up the ball court? Whoever guy is guarding Steph, they set the pick and forcing the Warriors to switch. And what do you have? You got Steph against Harden. You got Steph against PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
And Steph's not healthy enough to guard them.
He's just getting burned. I mean, his body can't be handling this kind of constant targeting on defense.
Yeah, I think the stats been floating out there. Steph's been the primary ball defender 43 times already through 2 games. Mm-hmm. And there's just no time for him to rest on defense, right? Like we see LeBron James doing.
Right.
And then on offense, he's being asked to be the guy, or, at least in game 2, maybe not so much. But again, that's affecting them on the other end of the court.
Right.
Right. So is this the tactic for the Rockets to keep using?
Yeah, I mean, the Rockets are going to keep doing this, right? Why not? Because it's so successful for them. So why wouldn't you keep attacking Steph and hopefully try to push him off the floor or get him into foul trouble and get him off the floor? But more than what the Rockets keep doing, I wonder if Steve Kerr will come up with some kind of wrinkle for this series and maybe try a zone defense where a little bit of a 3-2 zone where they have 3 guys on the perimeter and then 2 guys guarding the interior, so that even if you run a pick and roll and it's not man-to-man defense, so you don't have to do a switch where Steph is guarding the guy he switched onto rather than he's just guarding his zone, and it gives him a little bit less parts of the court to cover and may help him out. But I mean, we've seen this with Steve Kerr constantly, right? These past 3 years that they made the finals, he's very innovative and he's amazing at in-series adjustments.
Well, so I mean, they could do the zone D, or maybe even just have Steph hedge out on the pick and roll, right, and not have to switch and just stay on his man. And yeah, you may give up a couple drives here or there because you don't make that switch, but I think that's something to live with if you can, let Steph rest on defense and get that offense back.
Yeah.
And that, or if you're going to let the guy drive by not switching, then maybe you need some more rim protection, and you get JaVale some more minutes, you get Looney some more minutes.
Yep. Yeah, or blitz the pick and roll. I'm sure Steve Kerr, I completely trust Steve Kerr to make the adjustments to figure out how to stop this defense. Or, you know what it is, dude? It could just be that Game 2, the Warriors were not playing up to their usual level. Because they're like, hey, we came into Houston and we already got Game 1. We already stole one on the road. We got 2 games at home coming up. I don't know if they expected to get both games at Houston. So maybe they were just like, hey, we already got our 1 game. We'll see how this game goes. And if not, we got 2 games coming up in Oakland.
I mean, that's a problem we've seen. Well, maybe not necessarily a problem, but that's something we've seen with the Warriors here and there again. Sometimes they just take their foot off the gas, right?
Yeah.
We saw it happen against the Cavs when they're up 3-1.
Yep.
Right? We saw it happen during the regular season, the season after they won 73 games.
Right.
And now we're seeing it again, right? They just have this air about them. Maybe it's championship fatigue, or they're just so confident that they'll win at home that, you know what? This game's really out of hand after the first half. They're like, we'll give this to the Rockets. We're going to take it back home. We're going to win this out.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would be surprised if the Warriors are up 3-1 after these next 2 games in Oakland. Any other thoughts on this series?
Well, I mean, the series has been, at least from the media standpoint, it's been Game 1, Warriors win, and we're all like, oh my God, this is the Warriors that we've always seen. It's not fair that they're this good. The one team that we thought could beat them can't even hold a match to them.
Right.
Then we have Game 2 come along, then we're like, oh yeah, this is the Rockets we're looking for. If there's one team that could beat the Warriors, it's this team.
Right.
So I honestly don't know how to feel about this series. I think this might be going to Game 7.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the Warriors will take this in 6.
Okay.
I think they'll be up 3-1. Houston takes Game 5, and then Warriors close it out in 6. Unless they get lackadaisical like this, and if it goes to a Game 7, then I like Houston's chances. I always like the home team in the Game 7.
Man, I just feel bad for Chris Paul. He's just this generation's John Stockton. I mean, just all this success and just other teams that just marginally better than his.
Yep, he's just playing in the wrong era where there's these amazing other great teams.
So, I mean, talking about eras, now we have a new era coming into the NBA with this new lottery.
Yep.
What are your initial thoughts about what happened?
So, the lottery is always very exciting for me, and especially being a Lakers fan for the past 4 years, I've been so nerve-wracking every time watching a lottery.
Yeah, lottery sucks for me as a Nets fan, so one of us having fun.
Whereas for you, it's seeing the Celtics get all these guys like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum who should be on your team.
Oh my God.
And for the Lakers...
Not to mention Damian Lillard.
That
egregious Gerald Wallace trade.
And for me, for the past couple years, it's just being Lakers had top 3 protected, so they needed to get one of those spots. But ultimately, what happened this year was tanking work. Suns came into the lottery night having the best odds of the number 1 pick because they had the worst record by actively tanking and benching their best guys. Mm-hmm. And good for them. They got the number 1 pick. So, I mean, tanking still works. So unless the NBA does something to change it, teams are still going to tank.
Well, what do you think we should do about tanking next season or even seasons beyond that?
Well, so next season, they changed the rule where that instead of the worst record has the highest odds for number 1 pick, they did it that the bottom 3 teams all have the same odds for the number 1 pick. But then if you look at it, then teams are just going to tank still that they're one of the bottom 3 teams. Yeah. So, someone said that it should just be an equal lottery where all of the 14 teams should have equal odds of the number 1 pick. Yeah. Which may be too drastic of a change. So,
well, I actually really like that. I mean, then teams have something to play for, but then at the same time you have, those fringe playoff teams,
right?
Where they're
like the Denver Nuggets this year.
Yeah, and as you have these 8, 7 seeds when they're looking up and they're like, oh crap, we got to play the Warriors, we got to play the Rockets, man. We got no chance against this team. Why are we going to the playoffs just to be balanced in 4 or 5 games?
Right.
Let's take a shot at the future because we know we have the same shot at getting the number 1 pick.
Right. So it's basically, or the Timberwolves this year, was it worth to get that number 8 spot when I could have just instead of not made the playoffs anyways and try to get someone like DeAndre Ayton or Luka Doncic?
So I guess the lesson here is that there's no way to stop tanking unless maybe this is a bigger NBA issue, right? Maybe we just need more parity in the league that teams actually feel like they have a shot in the playoffs despite what their seed is.
So yeah, it may actually make them want a reason to be in the playoffs. Yeah, and Nishan's not on the pod with us this week, but we got to give a shout out to his Knicks.
Shout out.
So I mean, the Knicks, man, poor Knicks. They really could have used the jump into the one of the top 3 spots in the lottery, but they stayed where they were projected to at number 9. I don't think they're going to get a difference maker at number 9. They'll get a good player, but they're not going to get a franchise changer. And the Knicks could have really used it. Because now they don't know when KP is coming back next year. He could be out all year.
He's not playing next year.
And, man, I just feel bad. Like the Knicks, they just can't catch up.
I don't know about you. I don't feel bad for the Knicks at all.
And I think the biggest story was Deep, your Nets, because of how they weren't as bad as previous years, they didn't have as high of a pick, so they ended up at number 8, which is where they were projected to. Because their odds of getting a top their odds of getting a top 3 pick wasn't that high this year. And on the other side, the Cavs held on to that Nets pick all year. They didn't use it at the trade deadline to get someone a difference maker for LeBron. And this is what people are saying. Hey, dude, like the Nets are not that bad this year. Like you're not going to get a top 3 pick like it's been the past few years.
So does the draft happen? The draft happens after free agency, right?
No, so it actually happens June 25th to 27th around there, and free agency starts July 1st, so right before.
Do you think that number 8 pick is enough for LeBron to stay?
No, I don't think. I mean, that number 8 pick, if they trade it to get him someone, yeah. But I don't think LeBron's going to be waiting around for, like, I don't know, Trae Young or Miles Bridges to develop.
No. I'm calling it right now. I think Trae Young's going to the Knicks. That sounds like such a Dolan move.
His dad already said his son would do amazing on the Knicks.
Such a Dolan move.
So, I mean, yeah, I feel bad for the Cavs. They were hoping that, hey, we've had this lottery luck and maybe it'll happen again this year.
Not going to happen.
So that Kyrie trade is just looking worse and worse for the Cavs.
Well, so 2 teams that might actually be excited for the draft are the Suns and the Kings.
Right.
And the Suns have the choice.
And the topic of a recent Game of Zones, right?
Yeah.
The Sun Kings.
That was funny. But the Suns have the choice between Luka Doncic and Ayton. Who do they pick?
The Suns. So, I don't know if you saw this.
Who are the Suns Kings?
The Sun Kings, right? Imagine if they could combine their franchises and combine these top 2 picks, because that would be the ultimate. Doncic and Ayton on the same team. So, I don't know if you saw this. Suns' new coach that they hired was coach of the Slovenian national team, where he was coaching Luka Doncic. A lot of people are already saying, hey, this is why the Suns got him, so that they can draft Doncic, and then he already has a relationship with their coach, and he can develop them.
Makes sense.
But the Vegas odds makers have Ayton as the favorite to go number 1, because I think there's always that little slight hesitation with these European players still, because it's a crapshoot, right? Whether they're going to translate, their skills are going to translate into the NBA.
I don't think it was necessarily always a skills issue. I felt like it was more of like a size issue with some of these European players, right? Mm-hmm. Some of these European players, even the centers, they're just smaller than NBA centers, right? Or the guards are just smaller than NBA guards. But Luka Doncic, he's a big boy. He's 6'8", 220. Like that's an
and
NBA
the craziest
level
part is
size.
he's only 19.
And he's 19, so he's gonna put on more muscle. He's going to get bigger.
I mean, that's why I would take Doncic, because I think we're going away from big men, and Doncic can make threes. He's 6'8", 220, like you said, so everybody wants wings these days, and to be switch on defense and be able to ball handle and make threes. I would take Doncic.
I mean, he's not even a wing; he's a ball handler. Like
he's a point guard in a forward's body,
and that's
what everybody wants.
Ben Simmons, right? That's the model everyone's trying to emulate right now, and he actually has a shot.
Yeah.
Right, and Ben Simmons does not have a jump shot. So I know there's a lot of reservations for people saying that the Suns already have Devin Booker, right? Why else do they need a ball handler? But I'd say draft best player available. That's what the Sixers did, and maybe their methods weren't that great, but you see the results, right? They continuously drafted best players, acquired assets, traded players that they no longer needed based on who they were drafting, and now they're in their position.
Yep. All right, Deep. Ready to sign off on this pod?
Yeah, I think we're excited for the Cavs game starting about in a couple minutes. So see you guys next week. Hopefully LeBron James will be up.
Yeah, we don't know where we're going to be next week at this. We could be waiting for the NBA Finals to start with the matchup set, or it could be still going on.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most exciting NBA plays we've had in a while. So thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next week.